Yesterday, history was made.
What?
The first all-women crew was launched into the deepest reaches of outer space. No.
Hold up.
Not really.
Wait a minute.
1, they're not a crew. 2, they only spent 11 minutes.
Something ain't right.
And 3, they were mainly made up of B and C listers who were extremely overpaid.
That is true.
Of course, that included Katy Perry and Bezos' wife.
What kind of shit is that?
I'm Jasper Gonzo on this. It was a giant leap for mankind. Well, according to one woman, don't call it that because that would make you a bigot. But it's what's next. What's up, everyone? Jasper Gonzo. What's next? Daily Dose. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this Tuesday. Well, if you missed it, you should be ashamed of yourself. Yesterday was a day of history. Yesterday was a day that will go down as one of the greatest days in the history of space travel. Yes, it went down with epic proportions, if you will. The first all-women crew launched into the deepest reaches of outer space. Not since Star Trek and Star Wars have we seen this kind of excitement. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you for $1. What happened yesterday? Well, a crew, not really a crew, 7 passengers, 6 passengers, 7 passengers, monkey, that was my cat, 6 or 7 passengers, launched into space into what looked like, from what a lot of people were saying, looked like a giant peepee. Courtesy of one Jeff Bezos. And it was 7 women. That included Bezos' wife, Katy Perry, and a bunch of has-beens and never-wases who were extremely overpaid. What am I talking about? Well, but according to one woman, if you called it, that will go down as one of the great days of mankind, no, my friend, that would make you a bigot. But here we go. This comes out of New York Post. Trailblazing astronaut corrects CBS anchor after he uses the term mankind ahead of the Blue Origin spaceflight. Yes, that was the space thing, whatever it's called, by Jeff Bezos, whatever it was. The first black woman to ever venture into outer space chided the CBS anchor after the journalist used the term mankind in an interview with her leading up to Blue Origin's historic all-female flight Monday morning. Trailblazing astronaut Mae Jemison scolded anchor Vladimir Duthers as she insisted the importance of a star-studded flight crew that included singer Katy Perry, co-host Gayle King, and Jeff Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez. Oh, did I say wife? Okay, well. Explain to our audience why even a trip like this one, all the trips that we take into space, benefit mankind, Duthers asked Jemison on CBS Monday. Well, of course, he got corrected, and he was made to feel like a little wuss. Jemison, who became the first black woman to go into outer space in Space Shuttle Endeavour in 1992, quickly corrected the CBS anchor. Quote, "So it benefits humankind that I'm going to keep correcting," she said as Duthers issued a mea culpa. And the mankind and the man-made and the man's visions, because it's exactly what this mission is about. It's expanding the perspective of who does space. Quote, "Humankind, I'm sorry. Duthers quickly intercepted, and of course his, whatever happened to his ball sack pretty much disappeared after that. Anyway, and of course that is Jemison right there. And of course she was historic because she was the first black woman to be an astronaut into space in 1992. Okay, so there's that. Jemison then shared her answer. Why is space important? When you just look at it, when you go up, you get a perspective of the world that you can't get from looking down on the ground. Wow, that's brilliant. Civil rights activist Amanda Nugent, rocket scientist Aisha Bao, and film producer Carrie Flynn were also part of the historic takeoff in which women flew 62 miles above the Earth, yes, lasting a total of 11 minutes. The Blue Origin mission was the 11th human flight for Bezos' own rocket company and the first all-women space trip since Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova's solo adventure in 1963.
So explain to our audience why even a trip like this one, all the trips that we take into space benefit mankind.
So it benefits humankind, and I'm going to keep correcting the mankind and the man-made and the man missions, because this is exactly what this mission is about, is expanding the perspective of who does space. Why is space important? When you just look at it, when you go up, you get a perspective on this world that you can't get from looking down on the ground, and you can get it much faster. So whether it's looking at roads, mapping, whether it's looking at...
My thoughts. Well, one, there wasn't really anything historical about it. You know, you had a group of women. They were all passengers, not really a crew, because the ship was totally, totally autonomous. It was AI based. It was, there was not really like a crew leader. There wasn't a captain of the ship or anything of that nature. But, you spent 11 minutes. You basically got to the edge of outer space, turned around, came back down. Not to say that it's not insignificant, but it's not the world ender. It's not the world beater that everybody pretended. Of course, I'm sorry, everybody who I mean is media pretended it to be. When you had a bunch of B and C listers, overly paid B and C listers, including Bezos' fiance. I said wife, but Bezos' fiance. You had Katy Perry, whoop-de-doo, Yes, did they had to train? Of course they did. Yes, did they had to go through zero gravity? Of course they did. Yes, did they had to do some of the things that are, to replicate what astronauts go through? Yes, of course they did. But this is not the space shuttle. This is not the first man landing on the moon. This is not some of the most historical space endeavors that we as the United States have ever been involved with. No, it's not that. If you take the top 10 space endeavors of all time by the United States historical, and then here comes the Bezos and the women down here. That's where you put that at. But excuse me. But you had the actual astronaut, Mae Jemison, speaker mind on this, and of course, like I said, who knows as good as she does. The first black woman to be in outer space in 1992. But for her to be offended because one of the guys said mankind, because mankind represents all of us, no, she had to get butthurt. No, she had to clutch her pearls, her rectum clenched, and she goes, "How dare you call it mankind? It's humankind, because I have to keep on correcting you, you dumb men, no, she's been there. She knows what it's like to be in outer space, She should have just taken it in stride, because it is, like I said, mankind represents all of us. But according to her, no, it doesn't. It just represents, the patriarchy. And then we have Katy Perry. Katy Perry made a comment when she got off, when she got down, when she landed, whatever. She said, well, after taking all this into consideration, I've got in touch with, with the feminine divine. When the astronauts first launched into space in the 60s, and especially when they landed on the moon in 69, it was said that some of them said it was like touching the face of God. But no, according to Katy Perry, no, I just got in touch with my feminine divine. Idiot. But at the end of the day, okay, it was great. You got your 15 minutes, big hoopla, whoop-de-doo, but it really wasn't all that. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please have a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue spreading the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see you next time. Peace.